How fast fashion keeps us poor. There's an article that came out from the American Prospect at prospect.org entitled How Fast Fashion Keeps People Poor. Very interesting. So I read it, and let's talk about this together because there's some very, very interesting points that were made. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Thumb up the video, subscribe, let's get to 100K. So, companies like Shein, and here we go straight for the jugular, are using influencers to get Zoomers hooked on truckloads of shoddy clothing. Would I say only Zoomers? Okay, anyway, they're getting a lot of people hooked on spending. And yes, interesting. I have seen on YouTube, I have also seen on TikTok, and I have also seen on Instagrams like Instagram Reels or Instagram Live. I've seen a ton of influencers lifting bags, entire bags full of more plastic bags with like vacuum sealed items that they cut through. It opens up, the air comes in, and the stuff piles up. And like one bag full of other plastic bags turns out to be, once all the items are unboxed, it just piles up on the sides of these content creators, influencers, and then they say, look, and I got all of these like 40 shirts and 20 pants and accessories for only $50. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I could afford this too because like a shirt is $2.42 on Shein. And then, you order it and then but before you know it, it just feels so good, right? Not for nothing. They have that ad on television or on YouTube where they say, what do they call it? How does the jingle go? Shopping like a billionaire? And I'm like, yeah, billionaires don't do that. That's already so sad. It's like they're gaslighting you as a consumer by advertising their product, singing a jingle to you who can barely pay rent, that now you can shop like a billionaire too. I mean, it's heartbreaking, actually. Princess Pink says, no, my parents are in their 50s and they love all that cheap shit. Oh, there you go. So every age category is susceptible to this. And so this is particularly interesting because this article also talks about students a lot and saying like, if they don't have a lot of money and then they fall for this, purchasing a lot for a very low amount, you have the impression that it costs very little, but then because it costs very little, you forget that you're buying it every 3 days. And then before you know it, the prices pile up. And then before you know it, you start using all of those buy now, pay later apps and companies from Klarna and so on. There's a bunch of them. And before you know it, you're going into debt. But the quality of these clothes, as reported by this article, is like really bad. Like you can wear it 4 or 5 times, then it falls apart. So now you're creating a lot of waste. The landfills are getting more and more filled up with this crap. And it's a vicious circle. And the influencers get it for free. And it's fabulous to look at them unbox all of this trash because it's such a huge amount. It just feels insane how big this amount is. And look, I'm going to go out on a limb with this. I know when it comes to the United States, people are very upset with the tariffs. I don't want to get political. And I know that the de minimis, the $800 thing is going away. And now people are very upset about that, which means if you would send something from China that is under $800, there would be no import fees. But now there will be. And this is, I know this is hard to hear, but on this particular point, when it comes to fast fashion and getting all of this really crap that is going to just be garbage in a week, I'm glad that it's going to be more difficult to get because people should wake up because you're going to end up spending that money anyway. Let's be very clear. And I'd rather you don't spend it on trash, but you focus more on what you're going to spend your money on. That's just my opinion. Now, I believe in Vivienne Westwood's approach to purchasing anything fashion related or anything really. She would always say, buy less, choose well, make it last. And I understand that it can be tempting for a person to say, I can get 20 shirts for $15. Let me do it, you know? I don't know, maybe it requires a certain amount of maturity as well, but I would rather have one shirt than 20 shirts. 20 trash shirts or one decent shirt. I'm not even saying highest end shirt, just a decent shirt that I know that I can wear for at least, 10 years, that I can wash it, that it's not going to tear, that it's not going to rip, that it fits my style, my sense of style, not something that is trendy just now, but something that can actually last me. I value that much more than thinking in terms of buy throwaway, buy wear once throwaway. Cause that, you feel like, oh, you can afford finally to buy a lot of things. And maybe it feels good to you in the moment when you do order all of these nice things, cheap things. But then you fall into that vicious circle of reordering. And before you know it, you're in debt. Because buy now, pay later, sooner or later, that bill will hit you. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be like, oh, oopsie daisy. I didn't order just one order from Shein. I ordered actually 10 orders from Shein within 2 weeks. And now the bills are arriving. And I'm like, oh, damn. I miscalculated a little bit the amount because, yeah, if you think about one single shirt costing you $3-4, great. But I bought 60 of them. You know what I mean? And it adds up. Now with the de minimis gone, they will also add a tariff on top. So be very careful. I don't think that long term this is going to make you happier or wealthier or more prosperous in any way. And this is what the article is basically claiming. They say earlier this month, they went thrifting, a habit many Gen Zers prefer over buying new. But flipping through the racks, this person noticed prices have been creeping up. They pulled out a yellow tank top, likely from the late 2000s, cotton and slightly worn. The price? $13. By comparison, Shein sells a nearly identical shirt for $2.24, about the cost of a bus ticket in Cincinnati. Even thrift shopping, once the bargain option, now feels like a luxury. And then they say, but there's a catch to this wonderland of cheap fashion. According to UCLA's Sustainability Committee, the average fast fashion purchase lasts fewer than 10 wears before it falls apart or is thrown out. That's if it doesn't fall out of style first. Still, the appeal is undeniable. Fast fashion platforms bombard shoppers with daily flash sales, push notifications, and endless pages of inventory. Shein alone lists over 600,000 items. At any given time, to a consumer on a budget, it feels like a sense of freedom. But in reality, it's a trap. The illusion of affordability masks an industry built on overconsumption. As the fast fashion industry grows along with economic uncertainty, so does consumer demand for mountains of cheap clothing. You know, we really are heading towards the end. I mean, this is just so sad. And they get people because people don't have money. So these entire parasitic behaving companies, they are built specifically to target the masses, and the masses don't have money anymore. The discrepancy between the poor and the rich has never been so wide open. So many of these companies are targeting exactly that specific target audience that does not have the money. It's a vicious circle that has to snap at a certain point because more and more people are getting more and more into debt. Credit, is also going to a limit where like nobody can pay it back. Some people can file for bankruptcy, but then it at a certain point, like everybody's living on credit. Everybody's living on debt. Nobody owns anything anymore except for the corporations that bought all the houses, that bought all the infrastructure, that bought everything. And you have nothing. And as they say, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what's happening. That's where we are, like literally. We have never been poorer, and yet we have never shopped more than now. It's such a paradox. And yet, can you believe it? These companies have found a way to squeeze the money out of us that we don't even have anymore. It's diabolically brilliant if you think about it. I hope we will wake up. I hope. Do I have the certainty? No. Far from it. But I am that delusional person that never gives up on love, never gives up on hope. One can hope. And one can talk about it, like I do, trying to raise awareness in however way possible. I hope things get better. Love you loads. Subscribe. Let's get to 100K and never give up on love. Bye.